Let's talk about something that keeps showing up in the dating conversation lately, the whole male baddie debate. And if you've been watching the discourse online, you'll notice people are arguing about the wrong thing. Folks are getting stuck in surface level conversation about gender roles, masculinity, and even throwing around homophobic or patriarchal talking points. But the real conversation, the one that actually matters for women navigating dating today, is being missed completely. Because when you strip away the internet noise, what's really being described as a male baddie is just a man with basic emotional immaturity or maturity, a man who takes care of himself, who has emotional awareness, who can communicate, and who has resilience and vulnerability. And that raises a bigger question that accomplished women need to start asking in their dating lives. Why are we treating basic maturity in men like it's revolutionary? So I definitely flipped the lens through which I wanted to talk about this because I want to encourage the discourse around this. This is a very real thing that many women encounter. In today's Unlearning Series lesson, we're unpacking what women need to unlearn about masculinity, emotional intelligence, and why some men want the language of growth without actually doing the work behind it.
Hi, so I woke up this morning and wrote a 3-page essay about men baddies because from a linguistic, cultural, and also gender analysis lens, it's not getting, this is a juicy steak. There's a lot to unpack here, and we're not, you're getting lost on very like homophobic, patriarchal talk points, and you're not getting into what's going on here. Even with the structure of the word, male baddie. Okay, so let's get into gender specifiers and with nouns. Usually you see sex identifiers when it comes to like profession. So you'll see female president, female rapper, female doctor. And it has that sex specifier because when we use a sex specifier, we are saying that the default state of whatever this noun is man, is male. So even him using the term male baddie, it's so rare that we see male being used as a sex specifier to a term. So already in his argument, he is claiming with his own like words that baddie is inherently a female or woman subject. But that's also where he got it wrong. So okay, to understand this, you have to understand the Girls and Gays Alliance. Girls and Gays Alliance is about allying over femininity and oppression by patriarchy. Oppression by a hetero, patriarchal, cisgender, man-centered world. So if I saw Bretman Rock or RuPaul in full drag, I would never say male baddie. You would just say baddie. Baddie itself is not a term that has a specific sex assigned to it, which is why you got a lot of comments being like, I'm confused. Haven't gay men just always been the male baddies? It's been an unspoken thing. He doesn't understand the layers of this word. Okay, and we need to zoom out. We need to just go to the history. What is baddie? The term baddies is a continuation of the idea of bad bitch. Basically, it's a way to say bad bitch in a corporate setting without cussing. It's like an easier word to use in more situations and still get your point across. And so when you have bad and you have bitch, let's start with bad. Bad is rooted in African American vernacular English. It really became popularized in the blaxploitation era. It's used by Black people to reference something that's attractive, that's fly, that's cool. She's a bad mama jamma type. And then you got to get into bitch, a word that is inherently associated with the woman experience. It was used as a derogatory term, literally female dog, to degrade and subject women in this patriarchal society. And using bad bitch together was already is another subversion, saying like, okay, I'm gonna take this idea that like fly attractive women who use their attractiveness to get gains in life, or women who just have their own autonomy, this idea that these women are too masculine or a bad thing, or you know what I'm saying, like bad bitch took that idea and was like, actually no, we're reclaiming that. It's a reclamation. similar to how other oppressed groups reclaim words that are used against them. This is why baddie is not working in the context of cis heteronormative discussion. It's a word that intentionally has worked and built itself culturally to exist outside of a norm that centers men, and you try to recenter men in it. But it's about femininity, not about gender. Y'all. So in the discourse, now I will say a lot of the discourse was just a lot of internalized patriarchy, internalized homophobia being spat at him. But then on the other side, it's like, what do you mean men baddie? We already have men baddies. And when we refer to a men baddie, we don't use a gender specifier. We just call him a baddie. So we're upset that you're encroaching on a culture that you don't understand. You're trying to take space that's already been taken. We already have men baddies. And you're also trying to engage in a anti-patriarchal lingo, an anti-patriarchal lens, but still have the benefits of patriarchy that benefits you directly as a cis hetero man. Okay. But where it really gets juicy is his own definition of baddie. So this is quote directly from him. So this is a direct quote from his video explaining what a male baddie is. Someone who is self-aware, confident, has an upkeep about them, keeps their skin, I'm assuming like healthy is what he meant, gets Russian manicures, maybe a pedicure, and above the superficial standpoint, it's about resilience, having mental fortitude, having emotional awareness, emotional intelligence, being vulnerable, connecting with people, and it's more than about sexuality. So to me, what it seems like it was trying to have a conversation about was about how male grooming is seen as feminine, or if men engage in like basic self-care, it's gay allegations left and right, which is a valid critique, but you can't build, you're not even trying to build on what women in the queer community have built with the term baddies. You're not even trying to build on it. You're trying to co-opt it and take it from its original context, and that's where you're getting backlash. Because the term baddie has been evolving over time, and it's been refined through music, through culture. I'm a bad bitch. Fuck a bitch. I know we don't rock with Nicki, but Black women have been pushing this envelope of what this term means. They've been doing the work. And so you can't just latch onto a term without engaging with its nuances, engaging with its history, even engaging with it correctly, because you wouldn't be a male baddie, you would just be a baddie. Like, he tried to step over the work that you have to do in unpacking the patriarchy, which is what you want to do. But you can't do it through a term that was women reclaiming and subverting a term that was used against them. That was feminine individuals creating a space for them inside of a culture, a heteronormative patriarchal culture that doesn't create space for them. And then inviting yourself, still wanting the benefits of patriarchy. And then the kicker, your whole punchline was women can't handle men baddies. You're framing women as the main aggressors and perpetuators of the patriarchy when that's not true. Women love male baddies. We love Bretman Rock. We love RuPaul. We love the girls. We have built an alliance with the girls based on our collective oppression. And so, yeah, the girls and gays are going to look at you sideways when you try to invite yourself to a party that you ain't even helped set up for. It's like if white people or any other POC was trying to invite themselves to an N-word. The N-word is something that Black Americans worked to subvert. It was a word that was used against us, that we did the cultural work to make it a community thing, a cool thing. You can't invite yourself to something that you didn't suffer from, build the foundations of building it up from the ground up. You can't invite yourself. Like, it's a closed practice. So y'all have to you need to make a new term. It's not even you have to. If you're trying to actually do the layered patriarchal pushback work that you're trying to do, you can't just do it off of the backs of what women and what queer people have already built with the Baddie ecosystem. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have the benefits of patriarchy and be able to have an expansive persona outside of what patriarchy is putting you in. Either you're going to expand and understand that means you're going to have to do some fighting work against patriarchy, or you're going to be in your little box and stay within the benefits that patriarchy gives you. You can't have it both ways. In conclusion, it's not that women can't handle men baddies. It's that women created baddies from their own oppression from patriarchal society, and men have to do the same. You have to do your own work. Boom! I have so much more to say, but my 10 minutes is up. Please engage respectfully in the comments. If you're in there with any homophobia, you're getting kicked out. But I'm open to counter arguments. I'm open to,
Unlearning point number 1. Unlearn the idea that emotional maturity is automatically masculine. So a core insight here is that many of the qualities being described as a male baddie, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, grooming, vulnerability, mental resilience, are basic markers of maturity. Yet culture often treats them as unusual or feminine, air quotes, when men demonstrate them. What women really need to unlearn here is that you have to stop seeing basic emotional competence in men as exceptional, right? And we all do that, especially when we see it in someone such as a celebrity, a male celebrity. There's a lot of oohing and awing and, flowers given online. Emotional intelligence, vulnerability, and self-care are not rare luxuries. They should be standard. A man taking care of his appearance, emotional health, and communication skills should not be viewed as extraordinary. So a dating reframe that I really want women to get that is, instead of rewarding men for doing the bare minimum, accomplished women should raise the baseline expectations for emotional maturity in their partners. Unlearning tip number 2. Unlearn the myth that patriarchy is primarily maintained by women. So a core insight here is that in the discourse about male baddies, some men framed women as the main enforcers of patriarchal norms, suggesting that women reject emotionally expressive men. But the text and the video really highlights that many women actively celebrate and support men who step outside of rigid masculinity, particularly in queer spaces and in feminist culture. What women need to unlearn here is that the idea that women are responsible for fixing male masculinity, that's not our work. The belief that women must coach men through emotional development, once again, that's not our work. The expectation that women should tolerate men who want the benefits of patriarchy without doing the work to dismantle it. Once again, that's not our work. And really what this all boils down to is men wanting the title of leader and head of and wanting to have the last word without having to actually do the internal work and the developmental work around emotional maturity, actual leadership principles, and understanding that, and learning to be disciplined in many areas of their lives to be called a leader, and it actually means something because they can effectively lead. A dating reframe here is that a man who wants to be emotionally expansive must do his own internal work rather than relying on women to guide his growth. Women are not rehabs, and that is something that many of us have been socialized into in our home, but definitely in broader society. From Disney movies to rom-coms to everything in between, we live in a patriarchal society that forces the idea that men should be able to do whatever they want, but women bear the burden and the blame. And that is why we are having this mismatch of expectation versus execution. And men, some men who don't know how to take responsibility for themselves, are calling themselves male baddie. When in truth, if you see what is really meant under the definition of the word, it's not what these men are doing. Point number 3, unlearning point number 3. Unlearn the pressure to let men redefine spaces women built. And this is a big one. A core insight here is the term baddie evolved from cultural work done largely by Black women in queer communities, reclaiming language used to shame them. When men attempt to claim the identity without understanding the history or contributing to the cultural work, backlash occurs. This is very much what happens when white culture in America, the dominant culture, tries to co-opt, colonize, and commandeer something that the black community is doing, but they want to whitewash it, sanitize it, and market it as their own. There's backlash because it's just theft. And that's the same thing that's happening here. This dynamic mirrors dating patterns where women are expected to create emotional spaces that men later occupy without contributing to equally. And that, once again, should not be accepted. That's not our work. What women need to unlearn here is the urge to constantly make room for men who haven't done the work. Don't do it. The belief that inclusivity means tolerating entitlement. It doesn't. The habit of rewarding men for co-opting growth language without embodying it. He's just cosplaying. A dating reframe that women really need to remember here is that, or apply here, is that successful dating requires choosing men who are already doing the work of self-awareness, accountability, and emotional growth, rather than men who simply adopt the vocabulary of growth. Some of the key takeaways I'm going to leave you with here are the key lesson, or the deeper lesson, isn't about the term male baddie. That on surface riled a lot of feathers, including my own. It's about recognizing that true emotional evolution requires effort, consistent effort. Women don't need to lower their standards to accommodate men who are just discovering emotional awareness. Instead, successful dating requires learning to recognize men who have already done the work, who are putting forth consistent effort, and whose life reflects the decisions of a man who is disciplined, intentional, and mature. Leave your thoughts below on what you think about this male baddie debate and your experiences in dating. Talk to you later.